Change in order to change our lives. Change so that we can have a better life. The world is always in motion. Everything is constantly changing, and our lives are also changing in every single moment. If we look back at human history, or simply the history of Vietnam, we've gone through many eras and ways of living. Up until today, we have already changed so much from our lifestyle to our way of thinking, to how we integrate with the global community. These changes are necessary in life. We are the same. With every issue and every situation, if change is needed, then we should change in order to adapt to our surroundings and keep up with the times. Sometimes changing is very difficult, but for the sake of our lives, we must be willing to change. Many great thinkers have talked about this. Change is hard, but necessary for survival. No matter how difficult it is, when we stand between life and death, we must dare to change ourselves so that our lives can have hope and become better. All of us have probably heard the famous saying by the ancient Greek philosopher Heraclitus, "No one steps in the same river twice." This quote carries a deep message. Everything in this world is always moving and changing. Nothing can remain fixed even for a moment. Everything flows according to its own nature, and all things must change to adapt to a shared order. Some people may question this. What do you mean I can't step into the same river twice? If I want to bathe in it 100 times, I can. Not everyone understands the deeper meaning the first time they hear it. Take a simple example. When you bathe in a river, a flower petal falls on the surface of the water. In just an instant, the current carries it away to another spot. Even if the river looks calm on the surface, everything it holds is still moving and shifting. Human beings are the same. You cannot remain the same person you were yesterday. You were born under the protection of your family, but as time passes, if you keep living as the version of yourself from years ago, you will be overwhelmed and drowned by society. Every moment that passes cannot be taken back. You have to learn how to accept, adapt, and face every challenge, every temptation, and every test so that you can become stronger and better each day and live a more fulfilling life. The most interesting thing in a person's life is constant change. A Stoic teaching says, life is a sea of suffering. Existence is full of hardship. You can only survive by relying on your own strength. No one can truly change your life except you, and only when you genuinely want it. At different points in life, you'll realize that you need to change. There may be many reasons for that realization, but the first and most important one is always for your own sake, and only then for external factors. Have you ever asked yourself, why are some people rich while others are poor? Why does one person seem to enjoy success and luck while another keeps meeting failure? Why is it that you've tried so hard but still haven't succeeded, while someone else's life seems stable and under control? Is life predetermined by fate? Can we really change our destiny? Yes, we can. As long as you change yourself from the inside, starting with your thoughts, your life will gradually change and become better. Each of us reacts differently when facing difficulty. The question, change ourselves or change the world, has always weighed on people's minds. Perhaps this reflection gives you a clear answer. When we are unhappy with our circumstances, the first thing we tend to think about is changing the situation, rather than changing our mindset, which is often the more important and effective change. In other words, we shouldn't be obsessed with changing the whole world to make it better for us. Instead, we should focus on changing ourselves so that we can fit into that world more wisely. How much to change and when to change is up to you. You are the one who senses when it's time to change. If you don't want to change, then no matter what others say, you still won't. We often lock ourselves inside rigid frameworks and narrow limits that we create. We don't want to change what we already have because we don't want to disturb what feels familiar. But if we drag out a dull, repetitive and colorless life for too long, we eventually feel suffocated and trapped, and a part of us will want to break out and change. Changing ourselves to match our circumstances is extremely important, because no two people have the same situation. Not everyone is born into favorable conditions that let them freely develop themselves. But the decision to change your mindset and your habits is always in your hands. Changing yourself means constantly learning, improving, and growing. It's the effort to become a better version of who you were yesterday. This kind of change has a direct and powerful impact on your life and on the progress of society. As a whole, people who know how to change themselves never stop learning and taking in knowledge. From many sources, they acknowledge their mistakes, draw lessons from them, and correct their behavior. The world around us can be compared to a colorful painting, and each person is a vivid brushstroke. We all want to affirm our place in this vast society and become a meaningful mark on the canvas of life. But from the moment we first open our eyes and look at this world, our name is written into the book of humanity, and we have to imagine the path our feet will walk. That road is not always sweet like the candy of childhood, nor magical like the fairy tales our grandparents told us. It is a real world full of hardship and challenges. To survive in it, we must have a dynamic worldview and be willing to change flexibly when facing difficulty. Some people, when they encounter misfortune, become pessimistic. They sit in the dark corners of life, cry and blame fate. They only see the pain and loss they bear, and they blame everything circumstances, the cruelty of life, the unfairness of destiny. Then they think, if I could just change this situation, everything would be fine. But is changing the external reality really the best option? Maybe things would be better if, every time we stumbled, we used that as a chance to find a new path. Life is not a road paved entirely with roses. Our time on earth is limited, and the path is often full of thorns, storms, and fierce winds. People are not born at the same starting line, but the endpoint they aim for is often the same, the peak of their own dreams and success. If life or circumstance has placed you on a certain path and you give up halfway, then in truth, you've already lost. After the rain, the sky clears. Wounds eventually heal. When you feel trapped with no way out, remember that nothing lasts forever. Everything in life has a beginning and an end. When one phase passes, another begins. Striving for something great and failing often gives us more depth and experience than easy success ever could. Complaining about yesterday won't make tomorrow any brighter. So, instead of standing still and lamenting, you should keep moving forward. Even if your feet are tired and your heart is heavy, happiness comes when we stop whining and start growing, when we no longer regret problems we didn't have, but appreciate the lessons we gained from the struggles we did face. Sadly, when people are unhappy with their situation, their first instinct is often to change the situation itself, not their perspective. But the more powerful and lasting solution is to change the way we think. Change is an essential part of life. Accepting and embracing change can open doors to new inspiration, creativity, and progress in both work and daily living. But for many people, change is the same as fear, anxiety, and stress. For them, change feels impossible. If you can identify why you're afraid of change, it becomes easier to overcome it. People fear change because of what they might lose. Some lose confidence in themselves. They fear that change will steal the happiness and comfort they currently have. Sometimes, even something as small as changing your seat in a classroom or office can make someone upset because they don't want to lose their favorite view from the window or a useful wall they lean on. People also resist change when they don't understand why it's happening. That leads to doubt, resistance, and a sense of uncertainty that pushes them out of their comfort zone. Even if we want to get rid of that feeling, our subconscious is wired to seek safety. The fear of change mostly comes from the fear of failure, that we won't be able to adapt. That will waste time and effort. Humans carry a strong sense of pride. We don't like doing things we believe might fail. That mindset limits us, keeps us from trying new things and discovering the world. Fear of failure is one of the biggest barriers that prevents us from changing and reaching new opportunities. When you step out of your comfort zone, you'll face many challenges. You can start with small habits. Your daily routine will be disrupted, and the plans you made in the past may no longer fit. You're used to your current feeling, whether it's good or bad. If you change, you're not sure what the future will look like. Everything becomes vague and uncertain. You may want a higher paying job, but you're afraid that if you quit your current one, you'll regret it later. You may want to lose weight and start exercising, but you're not sure if it will work. At those moments, what you need most is a boost, something that gives you enough motivation to commit to change, even when it feels hard. If change affects your survival and your future quality of life, then you must try your best to adapt and grow. When life throws you difficulties, that is part of the natural order. The only real option is to face it. If we just lie there and tell ourselves, well, that's just how it is, then we're using fate as an excuse to avoid effort. Life becomes an endless loop of passivity. Without daily effort, without courage to pursue our dreams, without the faith to stand up after falling, we end up living a life even less resilient than a toy that always pops back up. When we constantly blame circumstances, avoid responsibility, and refuse to change, we trap ourselves. Some people and events come into our lives because of destiny. But if we keep running away from them in search of another path, will we actually find true happiness? When you feel that life has no more joy, when you've lost motivation and purpose, that is the time to change yourself and your life. Look again at the direction and path you have chosen. See what is truly necessary and what is not. From there, you can make your life lighter, happier, and more inspiring. Don't wait until everything becomes unbearable to realize you need to change. Look at the world. Look at the example of Stephen Hawking, the man who helped lay the foundation for modern cosmology and became one of the most famous theoretical physicists. We cannot say that Hawking had great circumstances that made success easy. His life was a chain of unexpected storms. At the age of 21, when most of us are full of dreams and plans, he was told he only had 2 years left to live. His health deteriorated rapidly. If we were in his shoes, being told that we only had 2 years, how would we react? Many of us would probably scream, cry, collapse into despair, or even think of giving up entirely. Hawking also fell into depression. He felt his life was nothing more than a string of meaningless days. But in that dark place, he began to realize the true meaning of life. He understood that he had to do more to prove his worth and the value of his existence. So, he changed his thinking. He became a research student, immersed himself in the laws of the universe, and eventually produced world-famous theories in cosmology and quantum physics. That made his name known globally. At that turning point, Hawking had not changed his mindset. If he had allowed himself to drown in despair, would he ever have discovered his own greatness? Former US President Barack Obama once said that change is never easy, but it is always possible. We always have hope and faith that good things and success will come, and we can always move toward a brighter future. When facing hardship, we must know how to create motivation, hold on to our belief, and trust our abilities to get through. Optimistic people usually share similar traits. They work hard, they keep trying, they think critically, and they are always learning. If we want to change ourselves, we must change many things, starting with our thoughts. How to turn the impossible into possible. How to see problems from a positive angle even in the worst situations. Everyone wants a happy life, but life doesn't always go our way. Keep your mind steady and tell yourself that no difficulty lasts forever. See challenges as chances to grow. Once you understand that, you won't be afraid to change. To change yourself as quickly and effectively as possible, you need to take action, starting with small steps. Change little by little and try a bit more each day. Over time, you will become stronger and more confident. Life doesn't just happen within the comfort of your family. It unfolds across society. You might feel relaxed and free in your own home, surrounded by familiar people. But if one day life throws you into a group of strangers, will you still feel comfortable and at ease? Nothing is guaranteed. When we live with others, our personal habits may annoy them. If you refuse to change and they cannot adapt, conflict will arise. If your environment asks you to change, listen to it. Adjust your routine, your activities, and your way of interacting. You lose nothing by doing so. In fact, the people around you may feel more understood and connected to you if someone tells you, you need to change the way you talk. How will you react? Will you argue? I talk how I want? Or will you pause and reflect on yourself, on what you've been saying and how it affects others? Many people argue stubbornly whenever someone suggests they should change, simply because of pride and ego. But at the very least, we should look inward and ask, why don't they want to keep interacting with me the way things are? Don't assume they're just jealous of you. Often, they simply see that you need to change. Whether you can actually change or not depends on whether you truly want to. Sometimes we need to listen to the people around us so we can see ourselves more objectively, understand where we're right, where we're wrong, and what we should adjust to better fit the life we're living. Always keep a smile, even when others try to drag you down. Don't let negativity make your heart heavy. Don't change yourself just to please others. Change when you know it will make you better. Think about your own growth before worrying about other people's judgment. That, too, is a way of changing your life while still protecting your true self. If you believe in something, don't be afraid to stand up for it. Patience is not just about waiting. It's about maintaining positive thoughts while you move toward your dreams. Keep putting in effort, step by step, even when you encounter failure or resistance. One day, when you look back, you'll see that the real battles weren't out there in the world. They were inside you. Only then do you truly understand that no matter how difficult life is, if you have faith, things will get better. The poet Rumi said that the wound is the place where the light enters you. The best thing you can do to make your life better is to change your way of thinking and rebuild your inner world. All of this is the result of constant effort and striving, always seeking ways to change yourself or your circumstances so that they are better aligned with your needs, your family, and your future. By changing ourselves, we create a happier life. Opportunities for success also come more easily. Making life better requires effort and determination. We need to change our habits, our actions, and the way we relate to others. We can't always change our circumstances, but we can change how we react to them. Before acting, we need to pause and think. Act with reason, not with anger. The root of every problem lies within each person. The way you think will shape the result you get. If you fail, don't immediately blame the situation. Instead, recognize that you may not have tried hard enough or persevered long enough. When we dare to change, we find ourselves more mature, more steady, and with far more opportunities for success. The fear of change blocks our progress and kills our determination. So, why keep hesitating? You should dare to change and renew yourself. The doors of success will then gradually open for you. The topic for today ends here. Thank you for listening and for welcoming positive energy into your life. May you live peacefully and find a calm, contented heart. At Stoicism Philosophy Daily, we share stories, reflections, and practical wisdom to help you face change with courage, transform your mindset, and build a life of inner strength and tranquility. Each video is a gentle reminder that while you cannot control everything around you, you can always choose how you grow, how you respond, and how you rise above your challenges.